Hey guys, this is Gaming with Alston, and today we are on part 28 of Home Gym. No, GWA Network. Sorry about that. I was kind of confused between the two. If climate change gets really bad, people would have no choice but to resort to selling illegal drugs just to get food, just to make ends meet. You know, legalizing marijuana can actually reduce the unemployment rate too. My tip to you is if you ever want to consider committing adultery, you gotta be careful, because you could get an STD. And our dependence on meat, like, if everyone followed a carnivore diet, cost of living around the world will increase drastically. Like, people would literally have to fight to the death for a house. They'd literally have to fight to the death. They'd have to fight to the death. This is because meat is not very sustainable. Plants don't require as much resources. And you don't need as much land if you want to grow crops. If everybody went vegan, more land would be available not only for wildlife, but for also more housing. There are certain medical conditions that can bar you from going vegan, with a risk of dying from cholesterol deficiency or amino acid deficiency. Cats kind of have to deal with that. One thing you should never do to your cat is put your cat on a vegan diet. I'm kind of balanced between animal welfare and the abolition of using animals for profit. Whilst cats need meat in order to survive, we humans don't need meat. Cats do. They need raw meat, not cooked meat. Because cooking kills the nutrition that cats desperately need. But for humans, cooking food actually increases nutrient bioavailability. gene that encodes the production of 7-dehydrocholesterol reductase is called 7-DHCR. (7-DHCR). There's an enzyme, like a gene that encodes an enzyme called 7-dehydrocholesterol reductase. And it's called 7-DHCR. A defect in that gene can lead to something called Smith-Lemli-Opitz syndrome. Most people with Smith-Lemli-Opitz syndrome often die before they're born. Oftentimes, most of them actually die before they're born. Eventually, if famines get really bad, it's going to affect the cost of living as a whole. What happened when Hitler took power? Germany basically became what Venezuela is today when Hitler took power in Germany. People in North Korea are led to believe that Juche is a form of socialism. But the truth is, Juche, that's an example of false socialism. Kind of like how National Socialism is an example of false socialism. Juche is another example of false socialism. How? Basically, policy set up by Kim Il-sung is called the Chulsin Songban. Basically, puts you in the class that is determined by your loyalty to the regime. That's not how socialism works. In socialism, we don't put people in hierarchical categories. Everyone is to be treated equally in socialism, regardless of ethnic group, sex, gender, or disability, or size. Productivity has risen, but wages have been stagnating. Productivity has been increasing like more and more so since the 1970s, yet wages have been stagnating. If the wages just kept growing, everyone would probably end up getting paid about $20 an hour by now. Like, at least. But it's really not the case. part of it has to do with it kind of has to do with corruption. And the corrupt bourgeoisie governments. In true socialism, there is democracy in true socialism. A sign that the so-called form of socialism is considered false socialism is if the government is totalitarian. Like China or North Korea. China under Mao Zedong or North Korea. Those are examples of false socialism. Portugal's actually an example of true socialism. This is because they have a socialist economy and a democratic government. And a more democratic government. A country cannot be truly socialist without also being democratic. A country cannot be truly socialist without being democratic. Like whether it be representative democracy or direct democracy. In my political view, I don't view North Korea as socialist at all. Because there is social discrimination against people within social hierarchy. Which people are placed in based on their loyalty to the regime. In order for a country to be called, in order to achieve true socialism, democracy must be involved. Preferably direct democracy. Nazism is an example of false socialism. In order for it to be considered true socialism, the government must be democratic, preferably direct democracy. The means of production should be under common ownership. And social class should be abolished. Which money basically doesn't exist. Neither should the state. Because the only reason the state exists kind of has to do with slavery. Which kind of explains why so many kids in Africa are starving. Corruption. Plus, forming a state can make it hard for people to travel all over the world. Because in nature, when you go out in nature, animals cross borders all the time and get away with it. A lot of animals do it and get away with it. We should do the same thing too. Because you see animals do it all the time and they don't get shot down for crossing borders. In order for true socialism to be achieved, we cannot resort to imperialism. We can't. Which is another reason why I call Nazi Germany false socialism. To achieve true socialism, we should not exploit workers for personal gain. Nor should we exploit animals. So basically, veganism is involved. Civil liberties must be preserved if we want to achieve true socialism. Like the right to free speech, the right to bear arms. The right to access to food, stuff like that. The right to an education. Yes, even the right to vote. Yes, this should also include the right to health care. Part of why healthcare is so expensive is because the fact that a lot of people are getting sick with drug-resistant bacteria. Who's really to blame for the rise in healthcare costs in America now? Part of it's got to do with intensive animal farming. And misusing antibiotics, too. If you're sick of watching the world burn, the best thing you should do to stop that from the world from burning is to go vegan. A lot of people at fast food restaurants tend to work long hours. Like, they have to do... They are kept under pressure for very little pay. Especially those at McDonald's. Chick-fil-A workers get paid about $14 an hour, just to do the same work. For them, their hard work pays off. The hard work pays off at Chick-fil-A. And one thing we need to do to help improve our healthcare is state corporate rates. The first step toward socialism would be state capitalism. State capitalism. Then social democracy would be the next step. To transition from regular capitalism to state capitalism would mean a peaceful revolution. Like protests, strikes, stuff like that. Yes, this includes climate strikes. Because if climate change goes undetected, much of the East Coast will be underwater in the next couple hundred years. Where I live, I'm probably going to end up getting displaced. And the reason why state capitalism should be the first step towards socialism is so the government could take advantage of corporate profits to fund our schools, our hospitals. The government could use the profits to invest in public housing for those in need. And also improve living conditions for those in public housing, too. In true socialism, private property should be abolished while retaining respect for personal property. way to help reduce the costs of housing is to build more houses. Simply build more houses. And in my interpretation of socialism, we would take advantage of the law of supply and demand to fight capitalism. By producing more stuff. The good thing about following a plant-based diet is it doesn't require much resources at all. And it's pretty cheap compared to following a meat-based diet. In the long run. Because you can get all the protein you need on a vegan diet. To achieve socialism, we need to make sure we produce resources faster than the population is growing. And basically encourage people to recycle. Because we can reuse plastic somewhat. If we want to build really tall buildings, and we're kind of limited by the amount of matter we have in the universe, ultimately. Eventually, once last star dies, it'd be it for us. Like, we would have to live close to black holes, creating a black hole-powered civilization, in which we steal energy from the black hole. There's also a process that destroys black holes, too, called Hawking radiation. And to help ensure we have enough food for everyone, we're going to have more feral cats. Because a lot of the pests that multiply very quickly, like rats and mice, they like to go after our food. And sometimes they could be infected with bubonic plague. And there are many types of socialism, but the socialism that most of the socialist countries is like democratic socialism. Like one example of socialism is social democracy. It's an example of socialism. Usually that type of socialism is usually found in, is also known as modern-day European socialism. The one who helped kickstart social democracy around the world was FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He's the one who helped start it all. state raids on corporations. A state corporate raid in which the state raids corporations could be a good idea. So they could use their profits to help fund our schools. This would be before the state starts to passively fall apart into a confederation of settlements. Basically, it'd become a confederation. Once we achieve the post-scarcity society. Not all wars are waged over money. A lot of the wars in Africa that are going on, they're being waged over food. Access to food. My goal is to also make sure there's quality nutrition for everyone. No one should be left to starve. Anyways, this should be it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you liked this video. Dislike if you disliked it. Subscribe for more. And as always, stay tuned for watching. This is GWA Network signing off. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And subscribe to my channel for more content like this. See y'all next time. Bye.